Hello everyone, Storm 11 here. Today we'll be talking about a storm system that'll be coming out of Rockies, and it's going to bring in more severe weather issues across parts of the central and eastern U.S. beginning on Tuesday across parts of the central and several places, and then moving on to Wednesday, which looks to be the more significant event out the 3 days, possibly as far north as the Ohio Valley, maybe down across parts of Deep South again on Wednesday, and, and possibly could see some severe weather across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Carolinas on Thursday as well. Before we get started this video, if you guys would like weather-related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll be having more updates on this upcoming severe weather event over the next couple days, so definitely stay tuned for more updates as well. So we're going to get started with the watch and warning display. And you can see here it's generally mostly quiet. Most of these are either red flag warnings or some wind issues out there, which you can see there across parts of the central U.S. You got scattered red flag warnings, some wind issues in parts of the southwest. And in the Carolinas, that's actually a freeze warning, and there could be some frost advisories mixed in there as well. Things are going to get cold in the parts of the Eastern U.S. again. So cold that we actually got lake effect snow off of parts of Lake Erie and Ontario as well. Those are weather advisories and even a couple of winter storm warnings as well, which is very interesting. So for the storm predictor outlook for today, no severe weather expected, maybe some thunder for parts of Oregon and Washington. Day 2, which is tomorrow, no severe weather expected, maybe some thunder scattered across parts of the western U.S. Then on day 3, which is Tuesday, we got a standard cyclist from central Texas all the way up into eastern Kansas and far western uh, Missouri. And that margin does get extended as far north as central Iowa. So this could be a pretty expansive type of event, but it's not a very high risk or anything. This is looking to be more of a nocturnal event, which means it'll be overnight. So that'd be really something to really watch for since this could be happening overnight. Then on day 4, which is Wednesday, we got an enhanced risk for severe weather for parts of eastern Louisiana, most of Mississippi, and the parts of western Alabama. That 15% slack risk does ex- eh, extend, that's what I meant to say, try to say anyway, extend as far north as southwestern Kentucky and far southern Illinois as well. And I want to go down to the description here real quick. Definitely some strong wording for day 4. They say a severe weather outbreak is possible on Wednesday. They also say here for day 4, this includes the potential for widespread damage winds, tornadoes, including the possibility of a regional tornado outbreak, including strong tornadoes, which is EF2 or higher. So that is some pretty strong warning, and they also mention for the potential for long-lived supercells are also fast-moving Boeing segments where the modest destabilization does occur. And where we do have that is in that 30% risk area. Even areas in the 15% area can still see the potential for severe weather as well. And even if you're just outside the risk area, don't be surprised if you get at least at a marginal risk or something like that if you're just outside the risk area as well. It's going to be interesting to see what they'll show for day 3. But we're not done yet. Into day 5, which is Thursday, you got a slight risk for severe weather from central North Carolina up as far north as parts of southeastern Pennsylvania and parts of New Jersey. For some areas, this is the first time they have ever been in a 50% slight risk on day 5. First time, which is very interesting as well. Carolina mentioned this, really the primary threat is damaging straight line winds for the time being. Could change over the next couple of days. This is still far out. Let's first check out the NAM model. Over the next couple of days, and again, it's going to be generally quiet. There will be some activity in the western U.S. Certainly staying cold in the northeast with some snow showers. And here comes our system here coming out of the Rockies here. It's going to be a strong system. Guarantee you that. And this is later Tuesday night, the beginning of our multi-severe weather event. You got 991 millibar low over central Kansas. So thunderstorms may try to develop into parts of Texas, maybe Oklahoma, but later in the night, you can see here thunderstorms do develop in the parts of Texas and Oklahoma, maybe in the parts of Kansas and Missouri. Doesn't really get that far north, up in the parts of Nebraska and Iowa, indicated by the NAM, which of course is the NAM. It's not very accurate when it comes to convection, but it is something to look at anyway. And then when you get into Wednesday, you notice that a new surface low does develop along with some of that convection, and it does get deeper as well. Near peak time heating, you got a 987 millibar low over central Missouri. Pretty favorable setup for severe weather for areas across parts of the south here. And then again, as we get deeper into Wednesday, into the overnight hours, it does continue to get stronger as well. This is now at peak time heating, a 982 millibar low over the Iowa and Illinois state line. And you do have the potential for strong severe storms. This is actually pretty fertile convection, by the way. The actual front is still a little bit further back off to the west here. That's what some of the models have really been indicating. It's a prefrontal convection line out ahead of our cold front, which will be interesting to see how that could play out. Um, but most of it is linear, at least indicated by the NAM anyway. But most of the mid-range guidance show linear type of bow, but they're not very accurate when it comes to reflectivity. You have to wait and see whenever the HER model comes to range for this one here to really determine your potential mode here. That's the uncertainty that we have here, because either if it's going to be linear mode or discrete mode, that could determine how significant your setup could be or your event. And then again, at peak time heating, you got deepening low. It's pretty strong as well. You can see how it continues to move off to the northeast as well. And this severe weather event could get into the overnight hours as well. You can see how your prefrontal convection line does begin to die out, but new convection does develop along that cold front as well, which the NAM does indicate still plenty of instability left out there as well, despite it being in the middle of the night. So this could continue throughout most of the night as well. So it's going to be very interesting to watch to see how this kind of plays out as well. Let's check out the GFS model here. And then again, it's going to stay quiet over the next couple of days here, but pretty similar scenario to the NAM model. You got your pretty much your main low for Tuesday night over parts of Nebraska and Iowa. That's a 986 millibar low, certainly a little bit different than for the NAM. And you can see how convection does begin to blow up from central Texas all the way up into parts of Kansas and Missouri at that time. By the way, it is going to be pretty windy in the warm sector as well. With all these close isobars together, it's going to be pretty windy, especially when you got a pretty good high just off to the east as well. And that's going to keep things pretty suppressed here in between the strong low and that high pressure system sway, which is going to lead to windy conditions out there as well. So you're going to have strong southerly flow out of this. And you notice here with all this big blob of convection out here, a new low could develop within that as well. And that could be the one that could be your big severe weather maker for Wednesday. You can see here by peak time heating on Wednesday, it got a 985 millibar low over northern Illinois. I think it's slightly weaker than the NAM, but regardless, it's still a strong low either way. Very strong winds out of the southwest at this time here as well. You got very close isobars very close together at the same time. Just off to the west, you got some thunderstorms out there as well. And those are ones that could potentially be severe. You can see how it continues to move off to the east, even getting to the overnight hours as well. And it could last most of the night. And then your potential severe weather risk could get into parts in the mid-Atlantic, perhaps by Thursday morning as well. And here's the European model, kind of going back here a little bit. Here's Tuesday here. You notice here peak time heating that there's not going to be any convection. Main reason is that you're going to have what's known as a cap. Basically, it's a warm air loft. You got this little area of warm air in the mid levels in the atmosphere, and shower storms cannot form through that warm air layer as well. So it's pretty much like a brick wall for him. Wherever that breaks, that's whenever you get showers and storms to develop. You can see here, boom, as you get into the overnight hours, you got thunderstorms that do blow up out there across parts of the Central and Southern Plains as well. And then again, very similar scenario to the other models, a new low does begin to develop along that cold front as well. And here's peak time heating. European model is a little bit faster with this as well. Then again, a very strong low, 986 millibars over Central Illinois. I've kind of noticed that some of the models have been trending a little bit south with its low here as well. It's also been trending a little bit stronger as well. That's not really a good trend here because if your low is going to be closer to the Gulf Coast, you could get better in smooth values to come north as well. At the same time, things could get pretty windy outside of showers and storms as well. So even if you don't see severe storms, either way it's going to be very windy during the day on Wednesday. Watch rate wind gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour seems like a pretty good bet outside of showers and storms as well. And this is going to be happening over a large area as well. So that's another threat to really keep an eye on as well. Is see how strong those winds could be because they could do possibly some damage out there as well and cause some problems out there as well. Even that by itself can do that. You can see as you get into the overnight hours, the storms to the north here do begin to die down, but new storms do try to develop along that cold front as well in the overnight hours, which is interesting. And you can see how your severe weather potential does push into parts of the mid-Atlantic here. European model shows possibly a broken line of storms along that cold front as well. It also has possibly a little bit more of a negative tilt trough with it as well. So that's the European model. Let's get a little bit more detail with this. This is 500 millibar winds. This is where you can tell where your troughs or ridges are. And you can see here, this is peak time heating on Tuesday. You can see here you got this nice large trough that's in place out here off to your west here. It's a very large trough. At this point here, indicated by the NAMO, it's neutral to slightly positively tilt trough. So it's not a terrible trough here when it comes to severe weather. You can still get severe weather during a positively tilt trough. But you do notice here, there's a decent amount of divergence out there as well. So you do have a decent amount of lift. However, as you get further south here, you don't have as much lift. So there's a little bit of uncertainty as you kind of get a little bit further south here. Again, not as much divergence as you get further to the south here, more down the parts of Texas. But you do notice here, as your system really begins to take shape here, at this point here, in the middle of the night, Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, at this point here, your trough's becoming more neutrally tilt at this point. And you'll notice here, as we go through the night into Tuesday morning, and eventually to Tuesday, or I meant Wednesday, sorry, I meant Wednesday. This is Wednesday evening here. You got a negative tilt trough that is in place here. And that's going to lead to that really increases your severe weather potential here. Anytime we have a negative tilt trough, that really increases your severe weather potential as well. I think regardless here, if it's neutrally tilt or negatively tilt, there's still going to be plenty of wind here. The wind dynamics on the setup here is going to be pretty impressive for Wednesday. And of course, it doesn't go as far out into Thursday here, but then again, there is a lot of divergence out there, and you still see that negative tilt trough out there as well when you get into Wednesday night. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to go here. You also could get some pretty good moisture here to go pretty far north as well. You can tell these strong upper level winds do get into parts of the Gulf of Mexico as well. And those very strong winds, especially far up north, is going to be able to transport that moisture pretty far north as well, getting parts into the Ohio Valley as well. And really, overall, your warm sector is going to be massive, covering several states out there as well, which will check out the load of a jet here, which can help with your wind shear. You'll notice back into 500 millibars, it was kind of to the southwest, just a little bit here, if I'm correct here. We'll go back here to double check here. It was still a little south here, but also still a little bit southwest with it But you do notice here when it comes to 850 millibar winds, it's actually due south at this point here. Then again, getting a lot of good moisture from the Gulf of Mexico as well, streaming it northward, pretty far north too. Especially if you have a stronger low of jet, which at this point here, I mean, 80 to 90 knots. I mean, that's a very sharp low of jet. If we kind of go back to Tuesday here, let's try not to get ahead of ourselves with here. Let's talk a little bit more about Tuesday night first. You can see here for Tuesday night, you got a pretty good low of a jet that will be setting up out there. So there'll be some wind shear to work with. All it really depends on is the moisture and how much visibility you could see here. Because if regardless on all three of these days, we're going to have plenty of wind shear. The uncertainty that we have here is dew points and instability, especially in the farther north extent of the risk area mainly. So then again here, Tuesday night here, your lift index values are pretty elevated as well, and within some of these areas here. But you do notice here, your dew points are generally in the upper 50s to right around 60. And of course, as you get further south here, you get deeper to those 60 dew points as well. Surface-based CAPE at this point here, you can see here there is some sign in, actually quite a bit of sign in actually, but there is a decent amount of instability placed here, generally 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram some places. If we do get, well, let's check out the significant torque parameters out of this here. Oh yeah, that's right, you can't see pretty well on the site here. We'll go back to the surface-based CAPE here, and we'll get some soundings out there. So let's go to the Oklahoma-Kansas border and check out, see what the NAM is suggesting. And with those strong sign-in values, that's going to lead to a decent cap out there, which in this case here, there's a very strong cap in place. But there's also a very strong elevated mix layer as well. Check out the mid-level lap rate values. They are on the strong side of things. And there's plenty of instability, lots of wind shear. Downdraft capability favorable for temperature winds. Pretty good hodograph as well. And really, you got that stubborn cap there in place, which is going to help prevent thunderstorm development as well. But then again, as you get deeper to the night, that cap does begin to erode away at that point. There's still pretty good instability values out there, even deeper into the overnight hours as well, which is interesting. But let's go to northeastern Oklahoma where that cap does begin to break. See what it looks like out there. And whoa, that is a wild sounding there. That's going to be a contaminated sounding right there. Let's get a different one. Let's get a little further south. Let's get a more accurate sounding. And similar situation again here. Usually, if you want to look into soundings here, it's probably a better idea just to look into the superset composite values for specific torque parameters. But don't always go for the highest number, though. Let's get one in northeastern Kansas there. You can see here, still a cap there in place, but it is weaker. That should be noted. It is still weaker out there as well. You do still have a good elevated mix layer in place in there, which is going to lead to a more discrete mode, if that cap does break, of course. And you still got a good hodograph out there as well. It just depends on how early the cap could erode, or it may not erode at all before that cold front rolls through. So there's still a lot of uncertainty out there when it comes to the cap. Here we go into northern Texas, where the cap is actually not there. You got a good hodograph in place. You do have a decent elevated mix layer as well. You can see here on the SKU-T as well. CAPE looks pretty good. And you also got plenty of wind shear going on here as well. You also got that wind direction of height too. So this would be favorable for all hazards. Damage winds, large hail, and even for some isolated tornadoes as well. Still, it's unclear if this will be a strong tornado threat type of setup or not. Still a little early to say about that given the uncertainty with the cap. But it looks like the southern mode looks a little bit better than northern mode. Well, northern mode looks good, but you got that cap in place. If that cap wasn't there, it will be a pretty good setup as well. Then again, still a lot of uncertainty there. You can see how it goes into Wednesday morning and then get into Wednesday evening. As you see here, you got pretty elevated supersonic composite values for southwest Kentucky all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico as well. So then again, the warm sector is going to be pretty large out there. But let's kind of go back to 850 millibar winds. I mean, that is a ridiculously strong Lova jet, which the NAMO tends to be a little bit overdone with the Lova jet this far out. But regardless here, if it's overdone or not, it's going to be strong. And the NAM is spinning out at least 99s of a Lova jet, which is very strong. I gotta say there, that's a very strong Lova jet. But regardless, if it's overdone or not, it's going to be pretty strong. But here's some of your uncertainty here, and it's dew points. How far north could this go here? Because the warm sector is pretty massive. It gets as far north as northern Illinois and in northern Indiana. It really depends on how far north your warm sector could get, or not warm sector, but instability values, instability and dew point values. How far north could it get? That's just the big question. And another question is, what type of mode it's going to be? Is it linear mode or discrete mode, or possibly messy mode? Messy mode will have to depend on the Elvin mix layer, which we'll check that out in some of the forecast soundings. But regardless here, you got severe weather potential indicated by the NAMO from as far north as southwestern Kentucky into western Tennessee, all of Mississippi, and the parts of Alabama, maybe in the parts of the Florida Panhandle, and also for parts of Louisiana as well. Even the earlier in the day here, you still got pretty good environment for severe weather even earlier in the day in the parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, parts of Oklahoma and eastern Texas as well. So, yeah, severe weather could go on pretty much all day long on Wednesday into Wednesday night. If we check out instability here, if we go back a little bit earlier in the day here, this is Wednesday morning here. You can see here, still got your system is still back further off to the west here, but then again, a lot of instability still out there. You can see here as we get into around peak time heating on Wednesday here, plenty of instability out there, especially across parts of Arkansas and Louisiana. Your prefrontal convection is at this point here ongoing across parts of Mississippi, and that could get up as far north as Tennessee as well at the same time. And out ahead of that, there's still plenty of instability out ahead of it as well. And given the fact that NAM is typically a little bit underdone when it comes to instability this far out, and you already got instability values up to 2,000, that's definitely something to really keep an eye on. And really, especially farther north here, is the lack of instability, especially how far north you go. I think regardless here, across parts of South here, especially parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the parts of Tennessee, I think there's going to be enough instability for severe weather. It's just for parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky, we got uncertainty for instability values up there. So, yeah, on that. Let's check out the superset composite here at the same time, and then again, pretty elevated numbers out there. You can see here earlier in the day on Wednesday here, pretty high numbers across Louisiana. Let's try to get a more accurate sounding here. Let's go along the Arkansas and Louisiana border here and see what the NAM is spinning out there. And a pretty good sounding out there. Decent amount of instability in place. Now here's my uncertainty here. Is the Elvin mix layer. And we had this similar situation before on an event that we had a couple days ago in the same area. Is it going to be a messy mode or a more significant type event? And if we're going to see messy mode, especially farther south, because with the messy mode being farther south here, it can rob some of the moisture for areas further up north as well. So really in reality, there's still a decent amount of uncertainty here because of your elevated mix layer here, which the NAMO did not do a bad job. Which Hermod was an overkill of the elevated mix layer on the last event. But I think regardless here, I think there's still severe weather potential even if it becomes messy mode. Just like on the last event, like I was saying, even with a messy mode, we can still see severe weather, but the significance of it won't really be there, or the potential won't be as high with or without messy mode out there. Anyway, here, even with the lacking of with the lap rates and the elevated mix layer, there's still a lot of wind shear out there. Look at the story to Felicity Valley, certainly on the higher end, and you also got a very large hodograph out there as well. This will be a pretty good sounding out there as well. Let's get a little bit farther north into northeastern Arkansas. See what it's got up there. We won't look at too many more soundings here. You can see here, these amount of wind shear going on here. Hodograph looks good too. Now, not a very unstable atmosphere going on here. You see here how your red line is and blue line. It's very close together. Even possibly some mid-level capping there as well. It's not the best sounding out there in the world. But then again, the sounding can't change over time too. Surface-based cable-wise, up to 1,000 joules per kilogram. That'll be favorable for severe weather as well. But this will be another uncertainty here if this were to play out as well. And then again, you can see here with those superset composite values can go even into the overnight hours as well. Let's check out the European model here. You can see here for Tuesday's setup here, plenty of divergence going on out there. So there's going to be plenty of lift with the setup here. And then whenever you get into Wednesday here, you can see there where your trough does try to begin to become negatively tilt out there as well. Becomes a little bit more pronounced here into Wednesday evening. If you pay attention to these black lines out here, you will notice here that it does become negatively tilt out there as well, which can increase your severe weather potential out there as well. And also leads to a lot of lift too with a negatively tilt trough out there as well. What's also interesting with the European model that the winds do become a little bit stronger in the upper levels as well, despite of having a lot of lift, which can help maybe limit that messy mode type of potential out there. So we also have to maybe pay attention to that as well. And you can see here how your severe weather risk does move into parts of the mid-Atlantic by Thursday here, and not really much of a negatively tilt trough out there. Mostly a positively tilt trough. There's a negatively tilt trough out there, but that's too far to the west out there. But there's also still plenty of lift out there as well for Thursday's setup as well. So you do have that. Let's check out the GFS model here. You can see here pretty similar for Tuesday's event here. It's going to be a possibly tilt trough, but it's whenever you get into the overnight hours into Wednesday morning, it becomes neutrally tilt, and then again into around peak time heating on Wednesday, it becomes a negatively tilt trough as well. And it's similar to the European model as well. And then again, like I was mentioning earlier here, you do get stronger upper level winds, which may help try to limit that messy mode potential as well. So we'll have to see if that plays out or not, because with stronger upper level winds, the storms won't be able to really form as high. Well, mainly the weaker ones, of course, out there as well. But that'll be also something to watch here for Wednesday. And again, for Thursday there, trough not really as impressive for Thursday here, but there is still some lift out there to lead to some thunderstorm development out there as well. If we go back to European model, check out the Lova Jet here. So here's Tuesday night, and then again, Lova Jet is going to be strong out there for Tuesday. And you notice how it gets stronger as you get into Wednesday as well. When you get to those yellow colors out there, that's when you get at least 65 knots out there, which is a pretty powerful Lova Jet. And you do notice here how strong your warm sector really is. It's when you get into Wednesday night as well, stretching from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into parts of Michigan. So the warm sector is very large out there. And you can see here's when we get into Thursday here. Still got a pretty good low of jet out there as well for Thursday as well. And also winds do become a little bit more directional as well. Most of it's just from the southwest as well, which can help limit that tornado potential out there as well. So we'll set that up to dew points. Let's go back to the GFS and check out the low of jet for the GFS as well. You can see here, pretty similar scenario here. A little bit weaker the low of jet, a little bit further south here, but regardless, it's still favorable for severe weather for Tuesday night. And then again for Wednesday to Wednesday night, similar situation for the European model. You get that very strong low of jet that sets up there from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into parts of Michigan. And again, when you get those yellow colors, that's where you got a pretty strong low of a jet out there, at least 65 knots. Does move into the overnight hours on Wednesday, and then you get into Thursday setup here. Still got a strong low of a jet out there as well, which can help increase our severe weather potential out there as well. Going back to the European model again, checking out dew points here. So here's getting into Tuesday here, and the European model is not very impressive here when it comes to dew points here Tuesday night. But even with upper 50 dew points there, you can still see some strong severe storms out there, which we can see some of those values there across parts of eastern Kansas to northern Missouri. But really, those 60 plus dew points is really the best numbers when it comes to severe weather as well, which those 60 dew points does get as far north as parts of central Oklahoma as well. And then when you get into Wednesday, those 60 dew points does get as far north as parts of southern Illinois and southeastern Missouri at that time. And as you get to overnight hours, those dew point numbers do begin to back off. But even with upper 50 dew points, you can still see the potential for strong storms out there as well. And here you go, getting into Thursday here. There's some pretty good dew points in place there with Thursday, indicated by the European model. You got upper 50s to low 60 dew points, generally covering for most of the Mid-Atlantic, and that does cover parts of the Carolinas as well. And I wanted to go ahead and set this up real quick here, and really there's nothing else on here from the European model we'll look at. So we'll go back to GFS here. We won't pay too much attention when it comes to history values because these models here are usually underdone when it comes to instability. But checking out the GFS model, getting into Tuesday here, a little bit more impressive there than the European model. 60 dew points does get as far north as southeastern Kansas and parts of western Missouri. It is when you get into Wednesday here, those 60 dew points does get as far north as even for parts of central Indiana as well. And then again, even with upper 50 dew points, you can still see that potential for some strong to severe storms out there as well. So keep in mind of that. But I think the best potential here is going to be further south here where we got these better dew point values and really we've got a bit better confidence in this area right here as well. You can see here some of those decent numbers do continue to the overnight hours. And this when you get to Thursday here, pretty similar to the European model when it comes to dew points out there. Got some pretty good numbers out there as well for Thursday's setup. And I think the last way we're going to check out here is the Superstock composite here from the GFS. We'll go in and end the video. We'll take a moment to load here. And you can see here when it comes to Tuesday night here, not very impressive numbers out there. It's got some of the highest numbers across parts of northern Texas, possibly in the parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas. Oh, here we go. There's the updated picture right there. And back this up a little bit here. So this is peak time heating for Tuesday. You can see a pretty favorable superset composite values getting as far north as parts of Iowa. It's getting into northwestern Missouri out there. And you can see here, pretty strong cap in place right there where your temperature line does cross over this dotted line out there as well, which indicates a cap. You also got pretty strong lap rates out there as well, decent amount of instability, pretty good holograph. So if this cap were to be here, this will be a pretty good severe weather setup for areas further north. But for right now, still a lot of uncertainty there if that cap is going to hold there or not, because if it does, it could be a potential bust event for areas further north. But as you get further to the south, though, the cap does erode a little bit quicker, which of course is still at around this time here. That really the entire warm sector will still be capped at around this time here. But if we go a little bit deeper into the night, you see here those supersonic composite numbers do go away further north here as those instability values do begin to back off. But there's still some elevated numbers in the parts of northeastern Texas, which you can see here from the GFS model here. Likely could be underdone with the instability. When it comes to Cape, it's still right around 400, but there is a decent amount of wind shear in place out there as well. And then when you get into Wednesday's setup here, you can see how you see some of these pretty good numbers out there. If we go to Central Mississippi out there, you can see there pretty good holograph out there in place. You do have a pretty decent elevated mixler, which may help keep things a little bit more on the discrete mode side of things. Dew points look good, of course. Then again, decent amount of instability, and also, then again, plenty of wind shear in place. You also got wind direction of height there. At the surface is due south, 850 millibars, a little bit from the southwest. So that is wind direction with height out there as well. So really, that'd be favorable for damaging winds, possibly some tornadoes out there as well. Some of those could be strong as well, given the fact you got very strong wind shear values out there as well. You can see here, about around peak time heating, you got pretty decent supersonic composite values that does get as far north as parts of southwestern Kentucky as well, which I know it's hard to see there. But you do have some values that does get as far north as southern Indiana. But really, the area that's a little bit more prime to severe weather is going to be further south here, where you do have some of these higher numbers out there. That's really the main area of focus out there. Is in the parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, even as far north as parts of Tennessee as well. You can see here by the sounding here, pretty similar to the last sounding as well. Really be favorable for tornadoes. Some of those could be strong, and also damaging winds as well. And of course, when you get to overnight hours, the numbers do begin to back off. The severe weather risk could continue in the overnight hours, especially for areas a little bit further south out there as well. And then when you move into Thursday setup here, you do got some decent supersonic composite numbers out there across the mid-Atlantic out there as well, which we'll get a sounding out there real quick. You can see here, decent amount of instability in place here. Not a whole lot of wind shear out there, but it will be enough for some severe weather. Lap rates will be on the weaker side here, but you do have a decent elevated big slayer, which will keep things a little bit more in discrete mode as well. But then again, this could change here as well. But really, overall, it seems like a multi-day severe weather event seems likely beginning on Tuesday across parts of the Central and Several Plains. Then it'll be moving further east across parts of Dixie Alley, even for parts of the Tennessee Valley as well, maybe in the parts of the Lower Ohio Valley. And then by Thursday, it'll be more focused across parts of the Mid-Atlantic as well. Then again, we'll have more updates on this setup here over the next couple of days. But anyway, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button if you do like my channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you've got some questions about this, put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.